Hey guys, welcome back. I know it's been a while again. I've been working on a large grinder. I know I said in my last episode I'd be working on a grinder and a breeder. Well, the grinder needed to go below the breeder, so I went ahead and I'm working on it first. The breeder I'm also working on and nearly completed. I just got to move in my actual villagers, and it's going to need some pigmen, so that's going to take some moving around, and that will be the final step in building the breeder. But for now, we're going to talk about the grinder and some key concepts that some of the newer players may not be familiar with. Now, this will probably be fairly familiar to the older players because it was used a lot. Basically, you got dispensers in the corners filled with water buckets, and they fill out this shape perfectly. This is on a 12 by 12 outside perimeter with a 10 by 10 inside, and this one is an 11 by 11 outside perimeter with a 9 by 9 inside. This one works better with one wide mobs and items, and this one works better with everything, including spiders. This is what I'm going to be using mostly. This idea, actually, I'm going to be spamming this into a 3 by 3 area. So once you take out the middle walls, it's going to be a 28 by 28 grinder spawning box. I know some of y'all wanted something crazy, like the entire field of influence, where I could go up to 128, possibly make it somewhat spherical, or do it as an actual cube. But for now, this is what's going to suit my purposes. So we're going to move on. The reason, in case y'all are wondering, that you see this less and less is there are two main mob grinders that have, I wouldn't say taken this place, but gotten a lot more popular. The NIMS type one, which uses flying machines and slime arms to push guys from side to side, and it kind of builds like a horseshoe on the side where the guys fall in. That's I think I showed you all that, and I've already built one of those in the realm. And then there is an Ilmango one. There's actually several of them. Mumbo's got a similar one to this, but an Ilmango one that works on layers and layers of this, which follows the natural water pattern. And there's one, let's see where to go. There'll be like one dispenser down there, wherever the middle is, right there. And it'll be fired off by rows of observer blocks. This one suits my purpose right now, and although I may build some later grinders, this is what I'm going with as my base idea. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I've recorded nearly every step of the way, and have pared it down to something that's actually digestible that we can watch on YouTube. There will be voiceovers, though, because in order to make it one coherent, maybe not tutorial, but more of a showcase, I had to do voiceovers because otherwise you just had me babbling the entire time. Alright, let me show you what I got going. I started off with a 30 by 30 platform up here at level 200. It's 3 high on the sides. I used to build them only 2 high and then cover them with half slabs. Now I build them 3 high, do a full block ceiling, and then put half slabs on top of that. Now this can be totally myth busted, but just in my personal experience, it seems like I get fewer light update issues when I go ahead and put a proper ceiling on it and then go ahead and cover it with the half slabs. The reason that it is 28, of course, is so that I can do a 3 by 3 total build of a 10 by 10 water source And here we are starting with it. I've got the dispensers in the corners, and then 8 in between each dispenser, for a total of 16 dispensers with buckets and water in them. These are all going to fire off at the same time, flooding the chamber and sending our mobs downhill. Next, I went ahead and put in the 2x2 holes. I had thought originally about putting a ring of magma blocks around each one. That will help deal with spiders and cut back on them affecting your mob count as much, because they will take longer to get through a traditional grinder unless you put a spider filter on it, which causes lag or slows it down. So I went ahead and decided not to do the magma blocks though, because I thought that it would decrease the overall spawnable area. And I definitely want this running at a good efficiency while I'm in the area. The whole idea was to do both an active and a passive spawner where I can still get XP, but I'm going to I want as many drops as I can get out of this. Next, I went ahead and added scaffolding and then started putting in where all the redstone is going to go. There's a block under each one of the dispensers that's going to be hit with a repeater, and there's going to be an etho hopper clock set up right here in the middle that's just going to move back and forth, and on the off tick, when it's in between its two positions, it's going to send out a quick pulse and turn on, and then alternatively turn off the dispensers and water sources. Something that works really well with this boat elevator is being able to use it as a form of scaffolding, because it makes it easy when you can go down exactly 4 levels, especially when you're building, because that's the most comfortable height for me to build at personally. Here we have all the water sources activated. I was just testing it out. Of course, as I add in the redstone, subtract that redstone, and play with the scaffolding underneath, they got right back out of sync. So I had to go back and adjust them. But I really like seeing it in action while I'm building it. So I wanted to see how it'd look when everything was fired off. I went ahead and almost always, after my first few grinders, I made access to spawn boxes and grinders, just built it while I'm building the actual machine. Don't go back and try to add it in later. Every time you're gonna blow it up. There's my hopper clock. I couldn't remember if I needed a pulse extender, because the pulse that comes out of that when it's out of the hopper clock when you're switching from state to state, it's a really fast click. And if you've got something that takes 2 clicks right next to it, it either won't fire or fire erratically. So I'm walking around on my scaffolding, showing you everything. If you want to keep it, it either needs to be out of leaves, out of glass, something where the guys can't spawn, or just go ahead and half slab it up. Now I drop down a few more levels and I go ahead and start building the pad for the collection area. The idea is it's a 3-step grinder where they're swept out of the initial spawning room. Then they fall into a large pool that's similar to the tree farm that I've showed you guys, or if you've ever built an iron golem farm, it's similar to that, just a really big water source pool that will go into the middle. You can see the little blocks in the corner, so it kind of does look like a golem farm. Now there are some holes where the redstone's going in and out, but they're minimal, and only so much should leak back up to the spawning area. So I blocked off as much as I could without completely changing the build or trying to power through walls or anything like that. Just went ahead and ran it through. So here's my second access so that I can see it. These sources are always going to be running, unlike the ones up top, which alternate. But I wanted to make sure that I could get back in and out, and clean up spiders just in case they ended up becoming a problem, because even no matter how much you plan it out, you are going to be building on the fly a little bit. You can see here how I went back and added in half slabs everywhere. I don't want any bad guys spawning on the outside, not just because they're dangerous, but also because they'll decrease the efficiency of the grinder. This is going to be the killing pad. I staked it all out, got it started, and just figured out exactly where it was going to go. I'm going to take a second here while I'm going through. I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted with me. Since I was building on the fly, I didn't know exactly what I would need at all times. And the hole in the center of the second floor collection pool, I went ahead and went with a 4x4 instead of the traditional 2x2. Now, I'm going to explain later on exactly why I did this, but it's definitely a trade-off because it decreases active grinder efficiency, so I'm going to get less XP out of it, but it helps out with spiders. Okay, here we are right above the zombie grinder, the zombie spawner grinder. We got our boat elevator going up to 200, and I'm going to show you what we got so far. Also, I need to give a shout out because I went ahead and to brighten things up and make things look better, I went and got a resource pack. And I based it off of what Janzi is using currently. It's the Bright Sky. I got his resource pack. Did a few changes here and there. It is great. So if you want to check out his current video, which he just rebooted and is doing a great job, has all kinds of stuff going on. He's much better at the form versus function than I am, as you can see with my network of pumpkin lighting going on. But I really need to give him a shout out because he just made it so easy to get which resource pack he wanted and edit it to my own purposes. So we're going to go ahead and head up here, and this is the grinder. Now there is a small flaw, and it was just a noob mistake by me. The hoppers on the far ends are charged, so they're not accumulating stuff directly out of the grinder. Hold on. As you can hear, it's working, but so these I'm using to sort of sort some of the stuff that I'm collecting a lot of. But this pedestal right here, this little storage system is completely inadequate. I underestimated how productive this thing would be. I just wanted like a small to medium grinder, and I wanted it to be dual purpose. So I want it to be passive and active. So it's passive whenever I'm in the area, and it's active because I can go up here and whenever a wave comes in, I can whack a few of them. I went by a 4x4 hole instead of a 2x2 hole. The reason I did this was I wanted to increase the efficiency a little bit so that fewer spiders seem to get stuck in here and just hang out. The reason for that is that with a 2x2 hole, they're going to have 4 surfaces to have a chance to grab hold of. But this way they have a maximum of 2 surfaces to be able to grab hold of. So they can't grab hold of all the sides. These guys tend to come in waves, they'll accumulate, and then the grinder will just dump out a ton of them. That's a pretty small drop. But let me show you what I got going on up here. Of course, I use the magma blocks to help make it passive. And then I got the holes. If you don't space these just right, you're going to get a creeper bomb right to the face. So you really want to play around with these. There's a perfect height that you want to be at their feet. And like they can see me, but they can't attack me once they get close. I like the aspect that it's passive also because it gives me a chance to use my looting sword to increase this and partially make it, like I said, an active grinder where I can get a little XP. It's not nearly the same as like an ender or anything like that. Let me go ahead and go to sleep. Now, it is less efficient during the nighttime because I haven't cleared out all the spawnable area at the ground, because this isn't all the way up at 200. It's below that. So down here on the ground, in this perimeter, guys can still spawn. I lit up a lot of the surface, but I haven't gone down and done any paving or blocked all that off yet. But as you can see, it's a nice little output. And especially using my looting 3 sword, I'm able to get stuff that I can melt down. Now that we can melt all this down, it's great. What you're seeing here is after I've made like 6 trips back to the house, our old main base. I mean, this is a bunch of string I've combined. This is a bunch of bone I broke down into bone meal and then converted to blocks. So there's just been an absolute ton of items coming out of here. It's not one of the super grinders where I'm going to get 100,000 drops or anything like that. But for my time constraints and my relatively early game resource constraints, this is working out just about perfectly. So we'll give you the full tour. Go up here. Of course, I keep forgetting to bring ender pearls up here. We'll go all the way up here where it starts. Okay. This is the spawning room. They're going to spawn up in there. I'm too close right now, so it's relatively safe. It's set up to a hopper clock, which is going to flood the room. And then underneath that, here's my clock mechanism, and they fall into a collection room up underneath it, which is right here, which sometimes does accumulate a few spiders. I just usually come through here with a boat whenever I see a bunch. Normally whenever I'm going in and out of the area, they'll just go ahead and despawn, so when I come back, oh, he's trying to shoot at me. But yeah, they'll try to get me. And once I leave and come back, those spiders will despawn, or I can just pop them with an arrow. I've got Depth Strider 3, so it's not nearly as dangerous as it normally would be. So this is the basics of the grinder. I'm going to rework all of this. I like the pedestal, but up underneath here, of course, I'm going to have to set it to where it can go directly into these boxes instead of me moving stuff over. And it's going to go into a filtration system, and then all of that will eventually feed into a line going into the sorter. And I really love this. Y'all go check out Janzy. He does some great stuff, and this resource pack is just amazing, and it's not slowing me down at all. I mean, this is on a laptop. Alright, guys. If y'all have any questions, just let me know. I've tried to show you step by step the majority of it, but I'm really happy with this. And once I get it all set up and hooked into some sort of filtration or sorting system, it's going to be absolutely great. Thanks a lot, guys. Be sure to like, share, tell other players you know about it. I'm kind of just trying to go ahead and build a fan base here, and there's lots of ups and downs, especially when you got a regular job. But I appreciate it.